Good afternoon, everybody. My video today is going to be based around the buffalo that died out in North America. And some people might not say, well, they're only buffaloes, but it was a huge, huge genocide that happened. And I'm being called upon to do this, and I've been pulled to do this for a very, very long time. The First Nations were also decimated a little earlier and also during that time frame. So I'm not sure what I'm going to heal, but I'm being called upon to heal that area. And I want to see what comes up, what comes forward. And it's one of those things that I've been putting off now for a little bit because I've been really busy. But I need to do it, and I've been called upon to do it for a long time. So I'm just going to jump right into this journey to see what it is and what happens during this journey. It should be quite interesting. Because we always got to remember that even the animal spirits have an effect on this world. And when you destroy a whole species of animals, it has an impact as well, because we are also connected. So when you take a population of that many buffalo and decimate it within a short period of time, it does have an effect on the human race. And so that's what I'm going to go into, that time period, maybe the late 1800s, when they started to really, really decimate the population. I see a woman standing on a hill, and she's surrounded by dead buffalo, and she has a white flag. She sticks it in the ground, and she goes on her hands and knees, and she's actually just she's praying, and she's crying at the same time, pleading to humans, to human beings of the earth, to please stop. But it doesn't stop. It gets worse, and the bodies keep piling up higher and higher and higher. And she's pleading so hard, but nobody listens. And there's a long pause, and she gets buried in the bodies of buffaloes. And all you can see is the top, a little bit of the flag sticking up, and the bodies are piled up everywhere. And I'm standing this as a spectator way back looking at this. I walk along the bodies, and I climb up to the bodies, and I start removing them. And I pull everything back, and all I see is a pool of water where her tears. She was crying, and now there's just a little pool where her tears were. And I take those tears and I put them in a vial, and I put the vial around my neck, and I stand up and I raise this part upwards, and it has a flat top, and I raise it straight up. And I see, for as far as I can see, millions of dead buffalo. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And I'm looking in every direction, and I'm wondering what went wrong here. What were we thinking? And it's like the human race doesn't really understand what they did. To this day, I don't even think people really understood what they did. The scene switches to a space underneath into the earth. It is full of dead skeletons of buffalo, and just piled upon piled and piled and piled and piled. And it's silent here. But it's not. There's something from underneath this space. It says I go down one level deeper, and I see black goop coming down from underneath. It's like it's filling up a whole sea of tar. This whole sea of tar is dripping down from above, and it's still dripping to this day, but it's deep within the earth. And we know that the buffalo weren't left to rot. They were, most of them were used, at least some of them were anyway. But this is not what this is about. This is the energy that's in this place. This is what the energy looks like. I see in this place there's little islands, and there's people sitting on these islands, and they're First Nation, and they're rotting. They're half dead. And I walk up to one of them and I ask them, "Why are you here?" They all stand up. They said, "We were the guardians of the buffalo, and we failed," basically is what they said. But I said, "This had nothing to do with you. Many things died here. Many people, including you. We are the heart that has been trapped within the earth. And it's like these souls are lost here. It's like this is a very unusual scene. It's still very quiet. It's like the heart of not just a buffalo, but the people themselves are down within the earth. But I still haven't reached it yet. And so it's like very still and very like all hope is lost. It's very depressive here. And if you stayed here long enough, you would just be like these old warriors that have lost all hope. I actually go down into the tar and I swim just like as best I can to the bottom. I just allow myself to go through and phase if I need to continue to go down. And there's like a grate here that I pull open, and the tar kind of goes down into here, but it's really sticky and hard to, it would take forever to drain out of here, and I go down even deeper. It's really far down. It opens up into a huge, massive cavern underneath. And it's like the same as above. It's like really, like, it looks like the land from above, from when I first came to this place. And I'm looking here. And it's like, it is so desolate. It's like a desert. It's like I'm in a desert now, and it's just sand blowing. And it doesn't look anything like it does up above. There's no life. Everything is dead. I see an old man walking in the desert in here. An old First Nation man, and I walk up to him And he's actually quite alert, quite understanding. And he holds something very special around his neck. It's like a vial, and it's full of souls. He says he has all the souls of all the buffalo that had died. The souls of all the First Nation that have died. And he walks this desert until the time where we can release these souls back within the earth to give hope back to the people, he says. He says, my people have lost hope. They have lost their way. And he looks at me and he has no eyes. And his eyes are there, but they're burnt out. And he looks at me and his hair's really quite long. He's very old and he says, does the world have hope yet? I said, the world always has hope. But are they ready to take back their hope, their strength, their warrior spirit, he says? Because I have the spirits of all the people and all the animals that have died because of the white man, he says. And he's not he's not angry. And I'm very impressed, actually, that the hatred here is not what I thought it would be. This is not what I expected at all. This man is way more than he's putting himself out to be. He is blind. He is extremely old, extremely powerful, but he doesn't show it. He says he waits for the day that he can give someone the vial to put back within the earth, to allow the souls to be free, allow the hope to come back to the people once again. He shows a man, it's a young boy in the tall grass, and there's a lot of buffalo here when he was a boy. Millions, just the fields were so full of buffalo, it's unbelievable. And he looks out along the plains, and the man starts to grow older and older. And it's just as he grows older, you can see these patches of buffalo that disappear. And then he looks in horror as he watches them be basically run off the cliff by the thousands. And then he sits as an old man in the same spot. He doesn't see any buffalo at all. Empty, silent. His heart aches for the day that when he was a boy and the first time he stood up and looked out and seen the buffalo. The spirit of the land has died, he said. The old man looks at me. He actually gives me the vial in my hand and says, would you take this to the woman on the hill? She is waiting for you. I cannot give it to her. I must stay down here to keep the balance, to protect my people from themselves. He turns into dust, and he becomes part of the sand in the desert. I go up to the straight up through the tower, back up through everything I've been through already, and I go to the woman, and I have her tears, and I have the other vial in my hands, and I have both vials, one vial on my right, which is the tears, and the other vial on my left, which is all the souls. And there's a woman that is standing on that hill. It's not a very tall hill, it's a flat top. And I go over to her. She looks at me and she smiles, and she's quite beautiful. Her energy is amazing. She touches her hand on my cheek like this, and she touches my heart, and she thanks me for coming here to do this, because so many will not. So many do not remember, but I do, and I thank you for coming. I give her the vial of spirits and I place them in her hand, and she says, can you go down to the tower and place and give a drop, a tear to every one of the First Nations that are still waiting, that are waiting for a day where the land will be awakened again. A part of me stays beside her and the other one goes down, and I give each one of those men a drop of her tear in their left hand, and when I drop the tear in their hand, they turn back into a regular looking warrior again, and it starts to come and look just like above, and all the towers is changing to grass, and they stand tall and their eyes are glowing. They're glowing a golden color. Their bodies are golden in a golden color. And this whole place fills in a beautiful golden color. And it starts everything is being pulled upwards, but also compressed. So it's kind of, every chamber is collapsing and turning into a very, very thin layer, and except for this one where we're in, so it's like even the one that was really far down with the sand, that also compress and get really thin, and everything gets pulled upwards. And those layers become a solid piece of gold light, and they go like literally like miles thick to like the size of a millimeter, in a solid gold. The warriors now are standing in the same spots, but in the field above where the woman is, and she takes the vial of the souls and opens it, and she starts to spin. As she spins, the souls just go out farther and farther and farther, and the souls turn into buffalo and turn into people, and they start running over the land, and the land, all the gold that was the layer of gold underneath is being pulled up into the land. And the sun turns into a golden color as well. And she spins and spins and spins and rises really high into the air and becomes like the sun itself, shining down upon the earth. And flowers start to grow everywhere. The old man that was underneath in the sand is now standing, looking up at her. He becomes a massive, huge white buffalo. And he runs, and all the buffalo spirits run with him. And he runs, and it's like, it's ridiculous. It's like millions of souls of buffalo are coming up out of the grounds, and they're growing and expanding, and they're running with this white buffalo. Huge though, it's like 4 times the size of the other buffalo. And he's running and running and running and running and running and running. And he's running, and there's all these buffalo are just forming and following him. And he runs for days, gathering up all the souls of all the buffalo. And they run straight, like they just run right up into the air, and then there's a gateway that opens up, and all the souls of the buffalo run into that space. And it's like a star. When our last one's there, a bright star appears and stays there. And it stays there for a very long time. And then fades out. She stands, of all the souls, all the First Nations that died in this area, all the souls stand before her. Some are screaming and some are yelling. The buffalo are silent, but not the men, not the women, not the children. These souls are angry. It's funny, when the buffalo went, you could hear the soul's anger. Or maybe it's when that old man left. The giant buffalo was what was stopping the anger of the people. This woman stands tall, and so did all the other warriors are glowing really bright, stand up as well. And she's still shining really bright above everybody. But she comes down and walks through the souls of the people. And when she walks through, there's lights that connect onto them, and they instantly start like almost like lightning bolts through all the souls, but it's not. It's like, it's this white energy. And it goes through all the souls in this land. And the dark, like the storm that was approaching from all the anger, it fades away. And it becomes a beautiful, beautiful sunny day. She sits, and all the souls sit with her. She breaks off into many, 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 many pieces of herself, and she takes each and every soul, and they start going up into the air, into this massive vortex. I mean, it's like the whole sky turned into like space, really. And she's taken away from this place into this beautiful, it's really like really beautiful space scene with nebulas and shooting stars, and like it's just very, very beautiful. And she takes them all one by one up into there. But it's like she spreads herself out, so if there's 1 million souls, she spreads herself out into 1 million parts and takes each one up individually. and they become like constellations in the sky in a way. And then all those stars that appear, they get really bright like the other one, and they fade away. It's very calm. It's like, surprisingly, the anger of the people were very loud, but she made sure that it only lasted for a very short period of time, and she instantly healed them all. I'm sitting looking at all this, and I create that hill that went really high up, and I'm sitting on that, and I'm just watching the scene of unbelievable beauty of all these souls that are being set free. She appears behind me as the last soul goes up into the space, and then the blue sky comes back, and she's standing behind me, and I stand up, and she gives me a really big hug, and she says, "Thank you." I said, "I've done very little, but I observed something that I was wanting to let go of for a long time." She has one of my souls that stands beside her, a man, and he walks over to me and shakes my hand, and I look behind him, and all the souls and all the buffalo that have been pulled up into heaven, so to speak, are now standing in behind me and behind her. And now they can go back to the people, to give the people hope again, to give people back their spirit. You give me back my spirit. And the man walks into me. Well, that was a journey. It's quite beautiful, very subtle, it was a very, 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 very difficult experience, but it wasn't meant to be that. It was meant to show the world to let go of their hate and anger so they can finally heal these spaces. Thank you very much, everyone, and if you wish to do a service with me, you can visit my website at amonrosawakening.com, and you can visit my Northern Light page at josephbradleyauroras.com. Sorry guys, I'm a little bit lightheaded from that journey, and it was quite beautiful. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.